All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. So today I'm going to be breaking down Nassourdine Imavov versus Caio Borralho, and this is a fight that I've been anticipating and been excited for a long time. Now, this is kind of like the first half of the mini middleweight tournament Dana White has to figure out who's going to fight Chimaev for the belt next. I know Chimaev wanted to return in October, but you know what I mean? You just won the belt, and you can't turn around that quickly because they need to have promotion. They need to have like a storyline going into it, and unless your name's Alex Pereira, you're not going to be able to turn around that quickly. So that being said, let's get right into it. So as far as the statistics go, so Nassourdine Imavov is 16 wins, 4 losses, and Caio Borralho 17 wins, 1 loss, 1 no contest. Nassourdine's fighting out of France, and Caio Borralho's fighting out of Brazil. Now, as far as the heights go, Nassourdine Imavov is listed at 6'3", and Caio Borralho is listed at 6'1". Now, I always say, take these with a grain of salt because a lot of fighters come out after the fact and be like, nah, I'm an inch shorter. Oh, my reach is a bit longer. So it is what it is, right? But seeing how they've sized up against multiple opponents, especially when they did the face-off with Caio Borralho. But that being said, they were wearing shoes when he faced off against Adesanya when the Fighting Nerds versus like CKB. So I feel like Nassourdine will clearly be the taller man, but I don't think by much. Now, as far as reach goes, completely even, 75 inches for both, so there will be no reach advantage for them. Now, as far as the wins method goes, so as far as TKO/KO rate, Nassourdine Imavov has a 44%, and Caio Borralho only has 29%. So as far as the striking goes, as far as power, I'd have to give it, I don't know, I feel like they're kind of even with their power, because you see, they don't have the one-shot KO power like a Ilia Topuria or a Francis Ngannou. But that being said, as far as speed and accuracy, I'd have to give it to Nassourdine Imavov. Because that's the thing. We haven't seen Caio Borralho in a year. And we've seen Nassourdine Imavov fight maybe 2 times, because he did fight Cannonier before Borralho. So I'd say 2 times since Caio Borralho's fought. And we've seen his striking level up consistently, especially being able to go toe-to-toe with Adesanya. Even though a lot of people are saying, oh, he's washed and all that. I don't think Adesanya is completely washed at all. And for him to be very comfortable in there, and really, he wasn't in any danger against Adesanya. Like, a few calf kicks were landing for sure, but he wasn't rocked at all. And he landed that uppercut where it's like, if you're able to cut angles and rock Adesanya like that, it takes a very special striker to do that. So, that being said, as far as the power, maybe even, I'd have to give the speed and accuracy to Nassourdine Imavov. Now, that being said, if this was a striking-only fight, and I'm going to play a little MMA math here, seeing how Caio Borralho was, getting hit a lot by Cannonier, whereas Nassourdine, he didn't look great against Cannonier, and the stoppage was very questionable. He didn't have as much damage. Now, the game plan for Cannonier was a lot different. It was a lot more grapple heavy. So it is what it is. Take from that what you will. But yeah, as far as like if it was just a striking fight, kickboxing, Muay Thai, I'd have to give the slight advantage to Nassourdine Imavov. Now, as far as submissions go, Nassourdine has a 25% submission rate and Caio Borralho only has a 24%. Now, that being said, I know it's kind of even, but I'd have to give the general grappling advantage to Caio Borralho, because Caio Borralho, I seen how the way he was able to dominate Cannonier when he had him on the ground, especially when he was rocked, he really had no answer like Cannonier for it. And that's the thing, as much as the submissions, they don't have as many submissions, seeing Nassourdine Imavov get held against the fence, like the clinch for like minutes straight by Cannonier, and then being able to get taken down by Brendan Allen, having zero answer for round 1. Like, he was on his back for, I'd say, 95% of that. So to me, that was a really bad look. And that's the thing. I don't think Nassourdine Imavov has bad grappling. I just don't think it's at the level, defensively and offensively, as Caio Borralho. And I feel like it might be a little bit of a liability in this fight, but I'll talk about that later. So yeah, as far as if this was just a submission match or just a wrestling match, I'd have to give the slight advantage to Caio Borralho because we haven't seen him get like dominated like we have seen Nassourdine Imavov. Now, like I said, Nassourdine has been improving, and I'm sure he sees that Caio Borralho, he's well-rounded, but he's a lot better grappler than, well, I wouldn't even say that. A slight better grappler than he is a striker, and then Nassourdine's a better striker than he is a grappler. So, yeah. As far as decisions go, 31% for Nassourdine Imavov and 47% for Caio Borralho. Now, it's kind of tough seeing the 47% decision rate for Caio Borralho because I know middleweight has been getting a lot better lately, but that being said, middleweight hasn't been the greatest division, and you see his record, and you see a lot of these guys, it's like, really? You're going to decision with that guy? Like, for real? So, it is what it is. I feel like Caio, especially, I think he wanted to prove a point with the Cannonier fight, so that's why he kind of went to war with him. But, yeah, I feel like, especially if you get to the top of the division, Caio Borralho kind of struggles to get the finish. So it is what it is. I don't think he's a boring fighter. Just by this big decision rate, I don't think he's like a boring fighter at all. It's just a lot of his performance leaves a lot to be desired. You know what I mean? So yeah, and that's the thing too. He didn't even get the finish against Cannonier, where he was like on the ground and just ground and pound, ground and pound. So I don't know. It is what it is. Like I said though, it was a questionable stoppage when Nassourdine Imavov fought Cannonier. So it is what it is. But yeah, like I said, to circle back, striking only fight, have to give the advantage to Imavov. Not only that, like the footwork and be able to go in and out. I think he's a slight bit more defensively responsible. If it was just a grappling, like BJJ or wrestling match, I'd have to give the slight advantage to Caio. And then, yeah. Now, as far as significant strikes landed per minute, Nassourdine is a bit more active with 4.45 per minute, and Caio Borralho is at a 3.61. Now, as far as significant strikes go, Nassourdine Imavov 55% and Caio Borralho 60%. So a lot of these guys, like, their statistics are not that far off, relatively speaking. You know what I mean? So that's why I feel like this fight will be a war, but I'm kind of second guessing that because I feel like these guys both know what's at stake. So I feel like they might be a little more risk adverse because it's like, shit, you know, if I go and I put myself in the pocket and get rocked, then there goes my title shot to Fluffy or, Reinier de Ridder. So it's tough to say whether this fight will be a war or like a high IQ kind of like kickboxing, like MMA match, really MMA match. And I feel like Caio Borralho definitely should test Nassourdine Imavov's grappling early on. For the fact that he didn't, test Cannonier's grappling at all till like the 5th round, really didn't make a lot of sense to me. And yeah, I hope Caio Borralho figures that out when he fights him again. Or not again, but he fights Imavov. Now, as far as their recent performances go, and this is where there's a lot of negative things when it comes to Caio Borralho outside of the cage, right? Because, so you look at Nassourdine Imavov, right? Fought Adesanya at February 1st, 2025. Then before that, fought Brendan Allen on September 28th, 2024. Then before that, fought Cannonier on June 8th, 2024. And that's the thing, the activity, not even close. Caio Borralho has been sitting, doing, frankly, nothing for the past year, right? Because his last fight was Cannonier on August 24th, 2024, and then has done nothing since, right? So that's a big factor, because I was kind of like, initially, when I first heard this fight announced, I was like, okay, Nassourdine Imavov, no-brainer. Then I watched the tape, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like, it's tough to say, but there are a lot of factors that are negatively impacting Caio Borralho, right? So I just said, lack of activity. Plus, he did the whole Tony Ferguson thing where he weighed in for no reason. I think it was like, 2-3 weeks ago? So I don't think that's the end of the world, but you can't tell me that won't negatively impact his performance, right? And not only that, he has done a lot of talking to promote the fight, which I approve of. And Nassourdine Imavov, he's kind of going back and forth with him as well. A lot of people are complaining that Caio Borralho, it's like, it feels forced. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's just trying too hard or whatever. But I feel like I'm happy with it because I'd be rather a fighter try to promote themselves than do nothing at all, right? So I'll give Caio that. But a lot of fans are annoyed because he's like talking a lot of this big game, which is like, I'm going to dominate Chimaev. I'm the only one to beat Chimaev. But he really hasn't done much to prove that, because like going to war with Cannonier then doing nothing for a year, you know what I mean? So this fight, Caio has a lot to prove. Plus, his ranking a lot of people were saying that, Caio doesn't even deserve this fight. He's only ranked number 7, whereas Nassourdine, he was ranked number 1 until Dricus lost, so it is what it is. And yeah, like strength of schedule, it's a no-brainer. You know what I mean? Because that's the thing. Caio Borralho, like I said, he fought Cannonier. Then before that, he fought Paul Craig. Paul Craig is kind of, the most inconsistent fighter of all time. You know what I mean? Like, he'll get TKO'd by this one guy who you don't even know his name, and then he'll submit Ankalaev in the final minute. Like, it's just, take that win with a grain of salt. Then before that, he went to decision with Abus Magomedov. And recently, you've seen Abus only having like 1 tank of gas for like 1 round. So it's just, it's like I said, you go into decision with that guy? You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I feel like this fight will definitely be a bit of a war, but I feel like it's going to be a lot more tactical. Now, as far as the fight itself goes, I feel like Imavov, I don't think he can't get away with the grappling. I feel like if Caio Borralho comes in with an intelligent game plan, he's going to have to grapple, and he's going to have to grapple early. Because in order for Caio to have real success, because I don't think Caio will be able to submit Nassourdine Imavov. Because like I said, he knows he's fighting a dynamic striker with primarily, or a wrestler. No. Caio is a better grappler than he is a striker, but that does not mean he's not a good striker. And then if Caio, in Nassourdine Imavov's head, I'm going to have to fight Chimaev next. So we've seen his striking level up. I'm hoping that his grappling is, going to catch up to his striking as well. So if I'm Caio Borralho, wrestle early, bring him against the clinch, because, Imavov doesn't really seem to have much of an answer with the clinch. And I feel like he can stall a lot there, which obviously is not a great thing for the fans. But if Caio Borralho wants to bank rounds, I feel like holding him against the fence will be a very easy way to do that. So for Nassourdine Imavov, he's definitely going to have to keep him off of him, use his range, use his footwork, and use his accuracy. Because I don't think Caio Borralho is going to be able to go in there and just wing punches and hit him. I feel like if Caio Borralho is going to have success, he's going to have to be the MMA fighter, right? Whereas I feel like Nassourdine, for Nassourdine to win, I feel like don't even really engage with the grappling. Hopefully he's been training a lot in the clinches, because if he's just being held up there for multiple rounds, just getting knee to the thigh over and over and over again, it's going to be frustrating to watch, and it's going to wear on Nassourdine's gas tank. And like I said, I don't see this going to the ground per se. I just feel like Caio's definitely going to have to tactically use his grappling advantage, right? Now, as far as who I think will win, if we've seen Caio Borralho fight in the interim, let's say against a Whitaker or Adesanya, and do really well like Nassourdine Imavov did, and did do this whole weight cut shit, I don't know. I can't. I feel like Caio Borralho has a real chance to win here, but I just don't see it. I feel like the momentum, the activity, the improvements that we're seeing, I don't see Caio Borralho beating him. I feel like Caio Borralho might have a little success earlier on, and I don't think he's going to go away, especially in the later rounds. We've seen that he can go to war for 5 rounds, without a doubt. But I just see Imavov being too quick for him, too accurate, whereas Caio Borralho maybe he tries to go in and wade in, and then Imavov just boom, 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 and land an uppercut or whatever. Because for him to get pieced up by a prehistoric Cannonier is a very bad look, and that's why I have to favor Imavov's striking. And as long as Imavov can keep himself off the fence, keep his takedown accuracy, well, not his takedown, his takedown defense accuracy up, I feel like Imavov should have relatively smooth sailing. Because, like I said, Caio Borralho, he can strike without a doubt. I just feel like Nassourdine, he's a bit more defensively responsible and faster and taller, and he can get in and out and accomplish what he needs to do. And I just feel like he's more of a devastating striker than Caio Borralho is. So, that being said, considering all the factors leading up to this and everything, I feel like the first round, I feel like it's going to be a very, very, very tactical approach. I feel like Caio's definitely going to test the waters with the wrestling, but I feel like it's definitely going to... I feel like Caio, he might be... In his mind, he might be like, I can't make this boring. And I feel like he's like, it's been a year since they've seen me. I'm going to have to impress the fans. And I feel like he's going to leave himself open for a lot of these shots. Hopefully he goes in there with a clear mind, because I like both these guys. But as far as them beating Chimaev, I just really don't see it. I don't know who's going to beat Chimaev. But yeah, as round 2 goes on, I feel like Imavov is definitely going to pick up the pace, jab him, keep him away from him, keep his back away from the fence. The last thing he needs to do is get tied up by clinch, because that's a very clear weakness. Now, as far as the third round goes, I feel like Imavov's definitely going to start picking up the pace even more. I feel like Caio Borralho might start getting desperate, and then I think that's where Imavov's going to land these big shots, in and out, keep him away from him, boom, 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 uppercut, similar how he did Adesanya, and I just think in rounds 3 or 4, I think Imavov's going to eventually get the TKO. I feel like, obviously they both kick really well, but I feel like a lot of this striking will be in the boxing exchanges, and I don't know, I can't see Imavov doing that to Adesanya and then questioning his ability to beat a Caio Borralho. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not 1,000% confident in this, but for my money, I'd have to give my official prediction, Nassourdine Imavov by TKO in either rounds 4 or 5. I don't think this fight's going to go to decision. I feel like Imavov's definitely going to have to prove himself because he doesn't want to get passed up by these other guys, Fluffy and Reiner de Ritter. And I just feel like he has so much momentum. Like I said, he has everything going for him. And yeah, that's my official prediction. I feel like Imavov gets it done in the later rounds. And yeah, I feel like in hindsight, Caio Borralho is definitely going to be like, fuck, I should have been fighting, in the interim, because going from a Jared Cannonier to a Nassourdine Imavov, it's a very huge jump, especially being on the couch, being drained from the weight cut. I just think, especially that weight cut will affect Kyle's ability to grapple. So I feel like that's going to take a lot of the pressure off of Imavov. So that's why I think, yeah, Imavov by TKO later rounds. And yeah, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and peace.